For me, the fundamental change was actually beyond saving cost or efficiency. But for the CSMs, our job is it's fundamentally different. It's about creativity. It's about looking on so many factors and designing a strategy. And that's why I don't see AI as saving necessarily cost within customer success. I see it as a multiplier to what we do.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Your Customer Success. My guest today is Alon Ahronberg, Vice President of Customer Success at Atera, an all-in-one IT management platform. Alon is now a 5-time customer success team builder with deep experience in software, product, and post-sale operations. He's known for blending technical expertise with the human touch, building CS organizations that drive adoption, engagement, and long-term value. At Atera, he's leading an initiative to bring AI into customer success, creating a 6-pillar framework focused not on cutting costs, but on unlocking capacity and empowering teams to work smarter. Alon, welcome to Your Customer, Your Success.
Hi, Gary. It's a big honor to be here. I'm a very big fan. So thank you for it.
Thank you so much. That's so nice of you to say that. Welcome. Hey, we're now on country number 5 for our guest. You're coming to us from Tel Aviv, correct?
Yeah, that's
And
right.
yeah, so we have, I am very proud to say we have been heard in 31 countries now. So we have a bit of an international flair that I didn't expect when I started doing this almost a year ago. So thank you so much for being here. So we're going to talk about your implementation. You're on customer success team build number 5. So what have you learned about what works when building a team and what doesn't, and what's different about this one?
So first of all, I think building a team from scratch, it's from scratch or a small team with a company that grows. It's different from company to company, and especially with an early stage companies or startups, there's very important things you have to pay attention to. You have to understand where you at your current stage of the company. How many customers do you have? The type of customers, the level of maturity of your product. That really defines what you need at this specific moment. And you have to understand what you're doing, and you also have to be careful. One of the pitfalls here is actually starting too big, thinking about the success platform you're going to bring in and the automations, and even hiring too many people, head of support or technician. It really much depends on your current set of problems. I'm not saying you don't need to think ahead, but you have to be focused. And what I found to be successful, and again, it depends on the stage you're at, is focused. First, focus on onboarding. At these stages, you have to get customers onboarding. That has to take. By the way, it's true at every stage, but that's a stage you cannot skip.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. Second, try to build the minimal possible to capture the right data. Work in an organized way. I'm not saying you need a tool. You can work with a spreadsheet even if that works, but just work in an organized way. Try to define some framework of what's happening post adoption and understand the goals that you need to deliver right now. It's not about improving necessarily the retention rate. You have to get advocates. You have to build relationships with your customers to increase sales. But then it changes as you evolve. So just pay attention on where you're at. And you ask me what's different also in my current role. So that's actually a very big difference for me. And I ended up working various sizes of companies, but here I'm actually have the opportunity to transform a team and to do a complete turnaround. Atera actually started from a PLG motion, and we sold to a lot of small customers, and that's how our customer success looked like. more like a call center, CSMs picking up the phone, handling crises when it need to, but that's not a high touch model. And here, coming into a company that has a very big team already, and you pretty much need to build everything from scratch. It's like we had everything, but didn't have anything
Hmm.
that fits to a high touch model. I'm exaggerating a little bit, obviously, but
No, I know what you mean.
it's
Yeah.
it's the dashboard, it's the processes, it's the playbooks that we have, it's how you have conversation, it's the journey. Nothing really existed, so we have to build everything, and it's a lot of change management for the team, but also for other stakeholders and departments in the organization. How do you work with marketing and sales and the account management, and 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 it's changing your work processes within the organization as well. So not just the my organization, and that's what brought me here. By the way, that's an amazing challenge, and you can throw AI to that as well, because that's also something that I'm also that keeps me busy a lot, and thinking and planning how can we leverage that as well. So that's exciting for every CS leader these days. So that's also a
Yep.
great opportunity.
And that's going to be the focus of the discussion today. And now we've had a few episodes on AI, and most recently we talked to Chris Hood about not, um, let's say, rushing into AI. And there's a lot of hype out there. And so the reason I wanted to have you on is because you're doing something tangible with it, right? And we talked about this. You said, and we agreed, most companies tend to rush into AI without a clear vision, right? So, what does a clear AI vision actually look like to you for CS leaders, and what in your work right now?
So it's something that also developed for me when AI started. It's a funny term. Um, I think I had my own learning curve as well. And by the way, I'm just starting my journey.
Mhm,
So you starting playing with tool, and that saves me time, and that's amazing.
mhm,
And then I did a workshop for my teams, and I brought an AI lecture, and she told, like, she trained us on all of those tools, Perplexity and ChatGPT, and the prompts, different prompts that you can do,
mhm,
and agents. And I'm sitting there and think, wow, that's amazing, but that's a lot of mess. How, as an individual, that's great, but as an organization, how do I control that? How about where's the standardization in all of that? How do I make sure it's being used properly, and my team doesn't get the wrong conclusion? And even if we're talking about saving time, taking the data on your own and throwing it somewhere else, there's security concerns, and that also takes time. So I realize I have to kind of craft and define for myself what is it that we're trying to achieve,
mhm,
and that's actually a vision. And for me, I have to say, I first realized when kind of the chip fell for me is when one of our team members actually threw a report from our system into Perplexity, and it generated an executive summary with recommendations on what the performance of the technician's performance from our platforms, and the
mhm,
customer loved it.
mhm,
And this is, I think, the first time for me when I actually understood this is it's beyond saving time. We can generate value much quicker from that. It's not something that we couldn't do on our own, but now we can do it really fast. And value and adoption eventually, and this is where I'm going with that.
mhm.
That's what forced me to create this my plan, at least for Atera, and what we want to achieve with AI.
And so you talked about adoption. I think we'll get into that shortly, but so I think you just touched on you started to realize that AI could fundamentally change the way customer success teams operate, right? And what in strategically, what are you thinking about? Like, what's driving that fundamental change?
So for me, the fundamental change was actually beyond saving cost or efficiency. So I see AI in many departments as a cost saver, and that's amazing. We did amazing things in marketing and in support, and AI. The AI is doing a great job in automating tasks that can be automated. But for the CSMs, our job is it's fundamentally different. It's about creativity. It's about looking on so many factors and designing a strategy. And that's why I don't see AI as saving necessarily cost within customer success. I see it as a multiplier to what we do. And what I mean here, if you take an average CSM, our job is to consult and be strategic. But most CSMs today, they're wasting their time on that they tasks that don't drive immediate value. They capture data, they add admin tasks into Salesforce, they're summarizing calls, analyzing data, reading through tickets, and doing handovers. But even if you automate all of that through AI, that doesn't mean you save that cost. You're freeing the CSM's time to actually do their job they were hired to do to begin with. So efficiency is just the first step for freeing CSMs to do their job. And if I look on the two main challenges CSMs have, and especially, and that's very similar to other organizations as well. With some, it's different. It depends on the industry. If you're in cybersecurity, but or a platform, but with Atera, our two two of our main challenges is one, wasting time on repeating tasks, and the second problem is driving adoption, and that's something many CSMs has as a problems. Working with champion and decision makers, you're pushing strategy and you're trying to promote adoption, but reaching end users, your technicians, if you're talking about Atera, no CSMs could ever talk to all of their end users. And that's also something where I think AI could help us do better and solving those two problems.
So you've come at this in an approach that, yeah, most people say, well, AI is going to reduce cost, but you're thinking about in terms of freeing up the CSMs to do their actual client experience related jobs and drive things like adoption, and which leads to retention, right? And so, do I have this right?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, brilliant, and that to me is a strategically brilliant move, because most people just think, all right, it's something that's going to cut costs and save some time here and there, which fine, I certainly agree it can if it's used right. But again, I share that concern with you. That is this doing it right? How do I know if I implement this at scale that the responses that are coming back are correct? Because I think we've all seen, the errors that can be made through AI just doing simple math homework. So when
hmm
you have your enterprise value and your clients at risk, especially, I'm in financial services and investments, it's definitely a hold on a second before you do this, right? So you strategically went about coming up with a plan, right, to implement this, and you've come up with a framework that I believe you have 6 pillars
yeah,
that you've kind of developed a framework. Do you want to share that with us?
yeah. So before I jump into the pillars, maybe I'll
Yeah.
expand a little bit on where I want to achieve eventually,
Yeah,
and how I see AI helps us to get that goal. And then the 6 pillars, those are kind of 6 topics that I'm trying to solve because I don't yet have answers to all of those
that's fine.
challenges.
Right.
Yeah. So if I look at the strategy, our end goal eventually is to be able. I like to call it also as a personalization, understanding what our end users and customers are using or underutilizing in the platform, and being able to come up with a recommendation in product or any type of other form of communication with recommendation to that specific person after I know that this is the strategy I have built with the champion and decision maker. And this specific user is not using that. And I know other of his team members is doing those same actions, and people similar to his role are using. And that's something AI could really shorten the time to. And maybe I'll give an example to kind of illustrate how that would look like. Let's imagine I'm a customer success manager of a success platform. Okay, and as you probably know, success platform, there's a lot of features with it. There's journey creation, there's health scores, there's NPS, there's task management, etc. And as a CSM, I've built my strategy with my champion. We want to implement the journey mapping, and we want to work on the health scoring and capturing tasks because we're managing big projects for our customers. And first of all, AI could help me understand what my customers are using and not using faster. That's easy. I can do it myself. If I'll sit an hour over a dashboard, I could do it. It's not that complex. It takes time. But AI could really do that faster for me and give me a recommendation. Look, these customer in the manufacturing business, I listen to the call and I know your strategy is using tasks, but they're not using it. So I'm flagging this. And you know what? 50% of the users are using it, but 50 aren't. And these are the users that are not using it. Let's promote that. And then I could execute this strategy to these specific users at the right time with the right recommendation to them. And that's also as a buyer, that's my expectation. I have to also share a small anecdote. I've sat with one of my vendors, and we were sitting through like a list of features that we're trying to promote. And why won't we try to push that for your team? And I said, honestly, I don't have time. I don't have time to start pushing features in the product. It's my expectation for the product to be good enough that my CSMs would use those features. And that's what I want to help CSMs to promote better. So it's a kind of combination of CX and high touch to be able to eventually to trickle down the recommendations to end user in a smarter way, and being able to give the CSMs better tools to build faster strategies and success plans with their stakeholders.
Mm.
So that's kind of the idea behind it. But to get to that, this is where I kind of get into the 6 pillars that I'm trying to build. So first of all, we need to free CSM's time. Like we need to make them more strategic. And that's the whole customer success kind of intelligent engine that probably most of us are working on now, knowingly or not knowingly. You know, we're building the agents and we're trying to save time. We have to have this engine that we can ask questions, generate the 360 view on accounts, going through tickets, etc. So that's one. The second one is how we're taking those models and building something that is a little bit more strategy, predicting growth and building adoption plan better, and success plans, and finding those interesting insights from the data that we have, all the data that we have. And again, I don't think that's rocket science as well. If you take an average CSMs and he spends 3 hours on the data of his customers, he can generate that conclusion. AI could shorten that time as well. And we're also peering a few tools right now to be able to build this kind of framework as well. The sixth pillar, and that's a bit tricky. Where would CSM live? What's their platform right now? I'm terrified from the noise it's going to create. Where do we capture the 360? Where do they work? How do we save the prompts? Where do they launch their campaigns? We don't have yet this cockpit. That's probably the biggest piece in the puzzle for me at this moment. And I have 3 more pillars. The fourth one is the operational side of things. And that's probably doesn't have to be perfect as you go along. That would probably improve, but where do you store the data? What kind of ops do we need to capture the right data? Are we putting it everything in one place, or we have agents running around? We have to solve that as well. And the second two are more related to my kind of holy grail at the end, which is one: how do we create the tailored communications with end users, the personalization. And I am referring to end users because eventually CSMs won't be able to pick up the phone or manually email thousands of end users. This is where scale comes into play. And the sixth pillar, at the end, I see much bigger synergy of CS and product. And certain features and element would have to trickle those recommendations into the product, making our product smarter to be able to advise our end users which features are really relevant to them.
Wow. So that's a lot. That is quite impressive. I think the one that resonates with me though is the kind of the cockpit, right? Because
Mm,
anybody who's been in this business, whatever industry you're in, you knows your job as a client manager, customer success manager, whatever it is, everything's scattered, no matter
yeah,
what. And that's your job. Is you're one of the only ones who knows how to pull stuff together. And I'm being polite using the word stuff because it's all over the place quite
all
frequently.
over.
So managers are expected to be in a CSM. Well, you can't just be in a CSM because you've got to be on the platform where your clients are looking, and you've got to maybe be in the mainframe, where for me it's an accounting platform or whatever. So you're always all over the place, and bringing it together, it's always been a problem for any client manager in any industry.
Yeah.
So that's kind of essential because right, you're gonna all right, we're gonna implement whatever it is, and in this case AI, but does that make it even harder because now you got to go figure out where you're finding the prompts and putting it here, and then you got to pull that here and put it over there, right? And
Yeah.
I'm kind of speaking very vaguely, but do I have that right?
Completely, and honestly, I don't want the CSMs to rely just on prompts. That's also a
Well,
concern.
that's
Like
right.
a prompt is nice, but there's always the uncertainty and extra stuff that I want to make sure they're still asking. So that's an assistant, but you have to give them that flexibility as well.
Yeah. So, which of those do you think is going to be hardest for your organization to implement, and which do you think in general might be the hardest pillar for other organizations? Or is it depend?
For now, honestly, I think it's the cockpit
Yeah.
because that's probably that's something that we'll need to face very quickly, and if not now even, and that doesn't exist. And don't get me even started on security, because that's also a gap that would need to be solved. Later on, that would probably be my kind of personalization piece, which I don't know exactly how we would still do. Um, but I would say the cockpit for now. That's my biggest challenge.
Yeah. And so you're doing all this and you're putting it all together, and what do you think is the efficiency gain? I mean, could you ballpark it?
Yeah, so it's actually a good question. So when I started this journey, we did the very thorough work by mapping all the activities and actions our CSMs are doing, and we divided them into kind of family of groups: admin tasks, renewal related engagement, support, planning, and strategy. And then we sat task by task and tried to think which existing tools and where could we create an impact. I estimate that we can save around 17%, 20 if you negotiate with my CEO, of
Or the
CSM
CFO?
times or the CFO of time that you can save kind of using existing AI tools today.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So, and one thing I just want to throw at you, right? Because we're talking about implementing AI tools, but we talked about the fact that AI, for the most part, is automation, and you have to prompt it. We talked about the difference between automation and autonomy in the previous episode.
yeah,
Um, and that automation has existed for a long time, and you can get that other places, right? So instead of throwing another layer on, which is AI, have you considered you could? We've always tried to automate stuff, right? Is there other ways to
Completely,
automate things? Is that part of this?
completely. I couldn't completely agree more. And the only difference here, I think it takes much fast. I mean, now it's way faster. So we always try to build learning models and health scores, and even automating tasks. It took a lot of time. I think AI opens the doors to do it much faster.
Mm,
And that's the difference. It's still automation. All of these tasks eventually it's and I love what Chris Hood also said, and I agree with that. It doesn't think on its own. Eventually you prompt it and you give it the steps, and it chooses the tools, but it does it much faster. You still have to review it. So, and that's why I don't see AI replacing CSM. Nobody wants to talk to a machine,
mhm.
an automated bot, but it can save us time, and the amount of time that we waste, it's huge.
Yeah, it can. And so, look, you said one thing interesting. It just caught me. But your customer health scores are taking a lot of time, and I hear that. I feel, I hear this debate out in the LinkedIn sphere all the time. It shouldn't take very long. If it is, you're spending too much time on it because it's just it's a guide. So
Yeah.
what's taking so long with customer health scores?
I have to say, first of all, I'm not a huge fan of one generic health score.
Hmm.
I don't think one number ever tells the story,
All
because
right.
then it's always, yeah, but why? And there's so many factors within it. So
Right.
for me, it's more about understanding what is a good pattern of usage, and when do you have a drop in usage, when do you have an increase. But the um, the trick here, by the way, it's build it around different type of customers, and this is why it takes time. Not all customers are equal. You can take an enterprise account, a different industry. Each one are using your product in a different way, and that's why it takes time. So is using your product once a day, is it good or not? That depends on the industry, it depends on the size, it depends on the model that they're using. And this is why it becomes a little bit more trickier to do.
Yeah, because I always thought we overcomplicate it. It could be a simple number, and then there's something that goes along with it. It's just a guide, and I
Yeah.
think we obsess over the metrics have to be perfect that you're pouring into it, and what really matters is the client satisfied, happy,
Yeah.
not indifferent, and what are you going to do about it, right? And what's your plan for them? And I think taking so much time getting all the data in there either should be, like I said, done by something that's already automated. You don't need necessarily AI.
Mhm.
Um, but it's really a general feeling about where that client is and where they're going. And then some people will say, well, that's not based on a metric and it's not measurable. Well, it doesn't matter really, because you were dealing with humans at your client, and they could either be satisfied, dissatisfied. They got pressures on them that you can't possibly measure, and things change. People move around and they
Mhm.
move from company to company, so you might lose your champion, or there's a corporate action, there's a merger or something, and they move. There's a product with another company. So there's just so many things that go into it. I always want to dive into that question because I don't understand why it's such a complicated question. It's pick what works. It's just a number or a grade, so to speak. And I said you should have multiple things that you're considering, or multiple grades for different products or what have you, not just one number, because you get just hung up on why is it this and why is it that. And anyway, I've always it's an interesting debate that goes on, and I really think that should be kept simple. That health score.
I agree, and when what I'm trying to achieve is actually more of recommendation of what your customer is currently doing or not doing,
Hmm.
and that's something that you should use in the conversation.
Right.
So, and it's not just it's not necessarily during the onboarding or the first year. Eventually, CSMs are also managing customers that are with us for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and a lot of things are also changing in the product, and understanding what is being used or not, and which features are more likely to increase satisfaction, adoption, and stickiness, that's something that where AI could also help us. Getting this usage map in a quicker way, and this is what I'm also trying to build.
Yeah, interesting. So let me throw this one at you because
Mm.
we talked a little bit on our discussion when we met about kind of the FOMO, the fear of missing out, and everybody's rushing into AI just because you have to do something with AI because you have to do something with AI. And so, how do you balance the pressure for a short term win with AI to say, look, everybody, look, C-suite folks, we're gonna here's 17% for you, with the need to to build the sustainable long term strategy. How are you handling that?
So luckily, I don't necessarily see that as a pressure. I see it as a journey,
Mhm.
because before I move to the third step, I want to see it actually works. I want to see it provides value. I want to see we're able to reduce our manual and redundant tasks. So, and it takes time. In parallel, we're piecing tools that should help us build those adoption success plans. So it's all happening in between. I don't think that we can do so many shortcuts in the process. We have to learn, and it's kind of all over. I think most organizations are learning in the same time.
Mm.
And if somebody did it, I would love to hear. But I don't really feel the pressure. I think as long as we also deliver and we show that we are executing, um, let's say, solutions that are able to save time, it's fine. But it's something that I want to achieve myself. Like, we need to learn how to use it and what's working and what is not. So I think it's a good exercise to do.
Yeah. So certainly it is, but here's the even better exercise. You ready? So I'm leading into I asked you that question to ask you this one. How do you measure whether your AI driven initiatives are actually improving customer relationships, right? Not just internal metrics.
Yeah. So it's more about how will I measure customer relationship, because we haven't yet really using AI for the value part that I'm after. But one of the um, tasks that we have planned is actually recording engagement within calls, where and actually that's checking the call transcript and seeing if the CSM were able to talk about value and recommendation, and did the customer acknowledge, and did the CSM were able to offer consultancy in that call. And that's something I would want to see improve over time. So we're now building the benchmark for it and training the CSMs to do it. And as we give them more tools along the way, I would want to see improvement in this specific score. Eventually, I would want to see more meaningful conversation, more cadences, and even increasing the amount of stakeholders and users that we communicate with. But that's something for the long run.
Yeah. So uh, we only have time for one more question in the main
Mhm.
segment. And I'm going to throw this one at you. If you had to give one piece of advice to a CS leader who's now starting the same journey, either building a team or implementing AI, what would that one piece of advice be?
I think it's easy. Define what you're trying to achieve.
Hmm.
Don't just do AI for doing AI. I think it can create a mess, and you actually find yourself wasting more time, but not knowing what you're trying to achieve and what you measure. So whatever it is, reducing onboarding time or adoption, and you know what, even saving costs, that's totally valid. Just make sure that that's your goal and you're okay with it and you know how to measure it. So that's my recommendation.
No, perfect. Makes perfect sense. Well stated. And it is time to move to the segments. All right, everyone, it's time for Does It Hold Water, my favorite segment. This is where I ask our guests to be our resident expert witness for the day. I will read them a quote or a piece of thought leadership, and they will let us know if it holds water or not. Are you ready?
Let's
All right.
go.
Your quote is basically the fence today is arguing that great customer success managers are the ones who can improvise, that no playbook can cover every scenario, and the real skill is thinking on your feet when things get unpredictable. Improvisation, they say, is just as critical as process or product knowledge.
Completely agree. I think there's a lot of creativity in our role. I am never was a big believer of writing every possible playbook. It's our job is way more than that. It's about thinking, being creative, being resourceful. Totally agree.
Now, I asked you that because of course, I agree with that, but we're talking about implementing AI and driving, either efficiencies through AI and being more automated. And doesn't that go right in the face of what we're saying?
It does in the way I think about it. So I see AI as helping me getting the conclusion faster, getting through the data faster, not making the decisions for me. So I would always have to look on the data, look on the conclusion, and then decide what the strategy I would want to take. It's just it's gonna make my life much easier. That's
Right.
it.
Right. So right. And that's the answer I'm getting at is we're trying to make everyone's life easier. You're trying to
Yeah,
make the employee's experience easier and therefore freeing them up to make the customer's experience better. And that is the correct mindset, if you ask me. And I think you're agreeing with me on how to implement AI rather than just doing it to cut costs. And so I'll just say it, cut
completely.
heads.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Great job. All right, let's move to chip shots. And chip shots are my shorter form questions, a little bit more personal, but still professional in nature. We try to go with three or four, time permitting. And we always start with the book question because we have quite the book list going, which I have to update, by the way. I have the actual list out there on my website. But one book that has significantly influenced your professional or personal life, and how did it impact you?
So I can never say there's one book that turned my life around. I always try to take something small from anything that I read or listen to. A few years I read Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. I don't know if you read it.
Mhm.
For me, I think I've always been a good executor and a very competitive person. And this book kind of helped me kind of reshape how I'm planning ahead as well. So it's not just about the quarter and reaching the target. It's also always you have to plan. You have to plan ahead. You have to think about staying in the game. How do you evolve? Think about your strategy. So 80-90% of my time, yes, we have to hit targets, but you always have to leave room for planning and strategy.
Yeah, Simon's big on this show. I think that's the third or fourth mention of Simon. So I'm feeling kind of left out that I haven't really read any of his stuff. I think I have to put him on my bookshelf. But good one. All right.
Where's the
Uh,
guest?
or as a guest. Oh yeah, I'm not quite sure he's gonna uh, take the call. But all right, I want to ask you the leader question. If you could spend a day chatting like a current leader or professional in any industry, who would it be, and what would you hope to learn?
So I'll go with Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella.
Hmm.
One, I think he did a great transition for the company. So that's at its own amazing to see. But also, I think for me, it's fascinating to see how you manage your day to day, how you manage such a huge organization like that. I would love to be in his office for one day.
Yeah. Oh my God. I know huge organizations. It's so hard. Interesting one. No, good. That's a great one. For you, I think I want to go with a particular failure or experience early in a career that taught you a valuable lesson you still use today.
Yeah, so that's it's something I would never forget. Back at my days at Sisense, we were BI tool, and I've worked with one of the biggest logos that we had, a very known brand in the world, and we tried to work on a POC for a big data solution. If that would have succeeded, it would have probably became our biggest deal because of the amount of data volumes and etc. So I work on this deal for a lot of time, designing a solution together with my champion back at that company, convincing him we have a real use cases. They loved it. We mocked up the dashboards. We plan ahead. We designed the data set. And when we were really close to go live, we actually discovered that the servers they were about to use, they were missing a component that didn't really work with our big data crunching abilities, and it just failed.
Oh, no.
And they didn't have the budget. They didn't budget for different servers, and we didn't succeed to roll it out eventually. And for me, it's not just since then, but it's always about planning every little detail, plan the rollout plan, make sure that you bring the technical people to scope everything out. You can't take assumptions. So that's something I carry with me since then.
Wow, that's oh gosh, I could just feel it. That you do all the yeah. I've been in similar circumstances where you do everything and then you realize, uh oh.
Yeah, we almost bought them a server, but security, because of security thing, it didn't.
Oh my goodness. Oh God, I could just feel it myself. All right.
Go.
So let's go with something positive. How about one habit or routine that you've cultivated that you believe contributes to your personal or professional success?
Getting up early. I know it's probably a cliche,
That's
but
okay.
I wake up early. I either do CrossFit training or I go surfing in the morning,
Oh,
and then it just opens up your day. It's like you already did something in the morning. Yeah, like if the day I train in the morning, you feel one mission is already accomplished.
yep.
So
No, and it does give you the energy. No, I totally
yeah,
agree. And I was not an early riser until we had kids. And
that's probably the reason for me as well. But
and
yeah,
then but now you're up, and then I was always a go to the gym after work person,
yeah,
and I became a get up and get exercise first thing in the morning, and you're right, it just that does change
yeah.
everything. Wow. All right, great one. Alon Ahronberg, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been great stuff. Another insightful look at AI for everybody out there. Where can folks find you if they want to reach out?
LinkedIn's probably the best option.
Okay. LinkedIn it is, and then your company's website.
Of course, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Those will be in the show notes. So thank you so much for joining us and thank you for listening on your customer success. We will be back with more CS leaders, customer success leaders, CX leaders, and I try to do some job search stuff to help people out there. So I got to throw that in there as well real soon. That's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us and bye for now.
Thank you, Gary.
That's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We hope you found something insightful that will enhance your experiences and drive your success. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review and share your thoughts to help us improve the show. Don't forget to head on over to marracxhub.com for more ways to connect with me and learn more about experience management. Until next time, I'm Gary Marra, working hard for your customer and your success.